We have official UFO disclosure from Representative Tim Burchett. This is huge. He says point blank that we have out of this world materials in our possession. This is an amazing interview. He talks about cover-up existing since, if not before Roswell. It's just a fantastic interview. So let's get into it. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and please comment below as I'm going through the story. Also, if you wanted to support the channel and keep Cosmic Road going, please consider becoming a channel member. See the first line in the description below, or simply leave a tip in the tip jar with the super thanks feature below, or donate through PayPal. Link in the description. Okay, moving on to the story. Tim Burchett has been one of the most outspoken people in Congress talking about all of this stuff. Even going to the extreme, and I do say extreme, of actually denouncing fellow Congress people, even on his own side of the aisle. You know, Congress people don't typically do that. Disparaging, your fellow party members, especially on such a fringy topic as UFOs and UAPs, that seems to indicate to me that he knows a lot, and that he is seeing some shenanigans going on, and he is not afraid to call them out. And I really admire that. I really do. So hats off to Representative Burchett. I don't care what your politics are. You got to admire the honesty in that and the integrity in that, I think. So, but let's go into what he says. So without further ado, here are his recent comments.
Earlier words, but the reality is that you're seeing on the screen right now, that is something that is it is defying any of our capabilities at all. If you were a human and make the turns that have been seen in some of this footage, you would literally turn into a ketchup package. I mean, you would be gone. And these things are showing, the current one right there is not showing a vapor trail. It's just it's something else out of this world. And we've been covering this thing up since the 40s, since Roswell or before then, I believe. I don't trust government. There's an arrogance about it, and I think the American public can handle it, and they need to release everything, and that includes if they in fact do have a craft, which I believe at some point we have obtained some materials that are not of this world that are being studied by different members of industry, I've been told. And, and part of the problem is there's two reports. There's one that is being made public, and there's the one that's classified. So if a congressperson is briefed on the classified briefing, then basically they're not allowed by law to even talk on the issue of what's in that, even if it's something that they already know. So there's a lot of things going on within this. There's a lot, I think, that has transpired since the 40s, and I'm referring to the Roswell incident. But if you want to see any further, 60 Minutes even did a special on it, on the Tic Tac, not like the candy is what it's shaped like, and the videos. And I've talked to several Navy pilots, the best in the world, have said, Tim, those things, they're not of this world, but we don't have any control over any of it, and it's in our airspace, and we need to find out what's going on.
And some of the sightings were said to demonstrate unusual flight characteristics. What exactly does this mean?
It means that they can turn 90 degrees at G's that a human is not capable of withstanding. And some of them, I've listened to some of the video and audio, and the pilots are literally just laughing at it, saying, what in the world is this? You can't even, they're not even able to keep up with it. And, when the Intelligence Committee had its one briefing that they allowed the public in, and basically it was laughable, really. They showed a 20-second video, and Adam Schiff, of all people, said, what exactly am I looking at? We're the most technologically advanced country in the world, ma'am. And they couldn't even stop the video to show him what it was, you couldn't tell if it was a shadow or what. And there was much better video out there. There was actually a Navy pilot who was in the audience who they would not even allow in, but came in with press credentials he was given, and he was not allowed to testify. Man, this thing is a huge cover-up for whatever reason, and I just feel like America is ready. We need to know and to stop with all the shenanigans.
I appreciate you sharing your perspective with us tonight. Representative Burchett, thank you so much.
Boom, there you go. It is a cover-up. It is a total cover-up. And he even goes into historically, they've been covering this stuff up since the 1940s. So I think that is very significant and very huge that a sitting U.S. congressperson would go on record saying there is a cover-up, and it has been going on since the 1940s. To me, that is massive. I mean, that is a big deal. Now, from this interview, it's unclear if he's talking about the U.A.P. report being a cover-up specifically, or simply in general that the government is covering this stuff up. But he has gone on Twitter specifically saying this is a cover-up, referring to the U.A.P. report that just dropped. So I think his opinions on this are very clear, not just his opinions, but he actually knows. He has been sitting in on some of these briefings, he's been sitting in on it, and he knows what we don't know and aren't allowed to know. And he seems very frustrated in not being able to share this stuff with us. He says that people who sit in on these briefings can't even discuss it, even if they already knew some of this stuff. But then he goes into talking about historical cover-ups in Roswell specifically. So I think that's really interesting, and he talks about how we have material. He also has some other really juicy comments, so we have to get into this. He talks about how we have materials, out of this world materials. He flat out says that we have, presumably recovered crash debris from a UFO or whole UFOs. It's, unclear, and he can't go into any more detail than that, sadly. But that is huge. We have a sitting congressman saying that we have UFO material. I mean, to me, that's disclosure. I mean, to me, that is disclosure. We have, he says we have out of this world material. To me, boom, that is disclosure. That is official disclosure from Representative Tim Burchett. It just happened. This is huge news. This should be everywhere. This should be on every channel, every network, talking about this stuff. He also says another really juicy nugget. He lets a little breadcrumb drop that is something that I've covered on the channel before. And that's, he says, I forget his exact words, but he says he believes the cover-up has extended since before the 1940s. Yeah. He says it very quickly, half under his breath. But it's maybe the biggest thing, other than saying there's UFO material, to come out of this interview. And one of the biggest things that could have come out of this interview, the acknowledgement that there has been a UFO cover-up since before the 40s, since before Roswell, since before all of the current era of UFO research and understanding, there was a cover-up. In my own research, I found that the first cover-up that I can find, the evidence of a cover-up was like in 1907. There was I sincerely wish I had kept this article or a link to it, but there was a small New England town, and there was a UFO crash. They didn't call it a UFO. There was an article in the paper that said there was an exotic craft or airship, whatever they would have called it, that crashed in a farm. And, not to be confused with Aurora, Texas, that case that happened years earlier. But in that case, I didn't see the cover-up in the same way as in this particular case, because this was a newspaper article talking about this, a local newspaper, and then they retracted the story the next day, the very next day. So the men in black, whatever you want to call them, were extant back then in 1907. And, maybe they began forming around the time of Aurora. Yeah, and they were fully operational in 1907. And shortly after that is when all the giant skeletons started to go missing, and the Smithsonian had a giant, the remains of a giant, and they got rid of it, and it has since vanished. They claim that it was made of gelatin, which, if you know anything about gelatin and how gelatin is used with remains like that, it's used to fill in little gaps. It's not used for 9-foot tall giants. Yeah, so the cover-up, to my mind, goes back to the early 1900s, if not the late 1800s. And so I don't know if that is what Representative Tim Burchett was talking about or not. He could have been talking about like the Mussolini UFO. Yeah, that's right. Mussolini had a UFO, and it came into U.S. possession at the end of the war. Yeah, Lou Elizondo has even confirmed this. So that is a real solid fact. And yeah, Mussolini got this thing in the 30s. So, but I don't think we knew about that or had any involvement with that until the end of the war. And that was obviously in the 40s, not before the 40s. So I don't think that is what Representative Burchett is talking about. It makes me wonder what he has seen. What makes him think there was a cover-up before the 1940s? Anyway, an amazing interview. We have basically official UFO disclosure from Representative Tim Burchett in this interview, an acknowledgement that we have UFO materials in our possession, and furthermore that the cover-up has been going on since the 1940s, if not before. Boom! This is a huge interview. Those are my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Please smash the subscribe button and hit the bell so you don't miss a single video. Please join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. And please, if you enjoy these videos, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member. See the first line in the description below, and there's 2 tiers of membership to receive exclusive access in videos. Until next time, this is Jack with Cosmic Road.